Gaming is for friends.
I thought this music was so epic.
We all like talking about gaming.
The only thing that I disliked about the old game.
There are so many different conversations started by gaming.
Oh, I forgot I have you.
This could be anything.
Okay, walk in that green goo. Oh, nope. That's a no.
Anything Gaming Podcast. Hi, welcome to Anything Gaming. This is a Starfield episode. Because Starfield's such a big game, we thought we'd talk a lot about space games and all those kind of things that make space games great. This is Anything Gaming. That's Woody. I'm Anthony. How are you today, Woody?
I'm doing great, brother. And yourself?
Oh, very good, actually.
Nice.
A bit of Starfield time. We've both played a lot of Starfield. And we've both got different opinions on it. Surprise, surprise. But we'll get back into that in a minute. Do you want to throw us into some news stories to catch our attention?
Well, actually, admittedly, it seems like the last couple weeks, every time, like right before we're about to, throw down a podcast, a news story hits.
Yeah.
This week, it didn't really seem like anything really big. Honestly, The biggest news story is the release of Starfield, really. But there were a couple of little tidbits here and there that I thought were cute. One of them is Megan Fox is going to be in Mortal Kombat 1. I find that to be interesting.
She's in a lot of those games, those gamer movies.
Well, I mean, Megan Fox seems like someone that knows her audience. Transformers, the
Ninja Turtles.
The 20 to 40 geek, subset, the people that watch Turtles, that watch Transformers, that play Mortal Kombat, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. So I'm sure the money was nice too, but this seems like a definitely way to like expand her brand into, geekdom, which is, people know her from. Personally, the only thing I've ever seen her in was the second Transformers movies, which was a movie. But I'm sure that, in Mortal Kombat 1, it'll be fine. At the very least, it'll be just as good as Jean-Claude Van Damme and Ronda Rousey. So yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I guess she's playing some type of, I don't think it's a new character. It may have been a character from one, the more obscure Mortal Kombats. I remember reading the name of it, and even right now I forget the name. It ain't like anyone that you know. It ain't Melina. It's not Katana. It's not Jade. But it's interesting to see who else will be coming to Mortal Kombat 1, both on disc and also in DLC.
Throw your comment in if you think you know who she's going to play. Put that in the comments. But
yeah. I mean, I saw the character, like a picture of the character. It's your typical Outworld, probably rips your head off at the end of the match kind of person. Just like all of them are really. Yeah. But that's just interesting. It kind of goes into just how, these celebrities, actors, singers, influencers, are just finding themselves in video games. I believe we touched briefly a couple weeks ago on Nicki Minaj being in Call of Duty, which was, that's also interesting. And even going as far back as, say, Sonic All-Stars Racing, where Danica Patrick was in there. But at least with then, Danica Patrick is a NASCAR driver. So that kind of makes sense. She'd be in our driving game, That's
a great segue. Well, that's a great segue into the next news topic. You've got Daytona 2.
Daytona 2, right. Oh, man. I love Forza. Forza's great and everything. And it's nice that there's a lot of, driving simulations out there. But I miss the days of your Daytonas, your Ridge Racers, your San Francisco Rushes, your Cruisin' USAs, your Outruns, your arcadey racing games that weren't full-tit arcadey, like kart racers, like Mario Kart or CTR or Garfield even. He has a kart game for some reason. But to see Daytona have a number 2, I'm super interested in that. I'm a big proponent of the Sega line of racers. That was my jam. Even when I went to the arcades and you saw the Daytona, that you got in, oh man, it felt great. And I actually do have, and I play Daytona for Saturn. Aged remarkably well, especially for a Saturn game. Still controls well. The music's still tight. So hopefully when Daytona 2 hits, it might be a day one purchase for me. I mean, racing games are still not my to-go-to genre.
But they are.
But
They're cool. I always remember it being just fast fun. It was kind of like Outrun, but then just turned up a couple of levels to be a lot more fun than just the Outrun kind of series. So, but it was just easy to play.
Exactly. I mean, simulation driving games are great if you're a gearhead. They're probably awesome if you're a gearhead. If you're the kind of person that's got a car in your garage right now or your driveway working on it, you probably love those kind of games because you know that. You know, you're not expecting to go on a racetrack and just zoom down 120 miles an hour, barely touching the brakes. You know, and if you hit the bumper or anything, it's fine. You just like bounce off it and you keep going.
Yeah.
So, but I believe with Forza, that kind of already has its representation in the current consoles. So to see a good arcade-style racer come back, and especially a game like Daytona, I am all for that.
Do you remember if it had, because this one here's got a tagline attached to it, Daytona USA 2 Battle on the Edge. I don't remember Battle on the Edge being in the original game.
No. I mean, it could just be buzzwords, you know, because that's what the edge is. The edge is when you're, you know, it's if you're doing any type of activity where the one slip up, the one mistake, you go over the edge and you don't come back. Battle. You know, and people talk about that, the edge. Hunter Thompson once famously said that the only people that can talk about the edge are those that have gone over the edge. And the people that go over the edge can't talk about it.
Oh, well, I've got some news, actually, personal news today that I'm going to bring to the show.
Ooh, a personal story. Awesome.
Yeah, well, after 2 years or so, 2 years ago, have you ever heard of game jams? Do you know what a game jam is?
No, enlighten me, please.
Okay. A game jam is where like a lot of game developers get together and they make just stupid little games, and it's like a battle of who can make the stupidest little game, right? And normally they're just mucked around, like something you put together in 5 minutes kind of thing. Anyway, well, in this game jam that was made, a few years ago, one of the guys made this chair simulator game where you have to race. You know when you're on an office chair and you scoot around places? That's the game that he made. He called it Chair Sim. And he incorporated my house into this game. So he lives all the way in Germany. I'm in Australia. He's never been to my house, but I had to send him diagrams of my house so he could build my house into a game. So it's pretty cool. It's available, like my house is now available to play in a video game. So have you got that accolade to your name?
Oh man, I mean that's just cool though. I mean, you know, it's nice that it's always nice when a part of you can break through to a video game. It kind of harkens back to Megan Fox and Nicki Minaj when you can have your own representation in a video game. Of course, you can always just make your own characters in games, and I'm sure like. You know, using some tools, I could probably make, you know, my Street and Duke Nukem 3D. But to actually have it officially, you know, with the time and care, something of yours in a video game, it's special, you know? Someone actually took the time to do that. And it's a great feather in the cap, man. I mean, I salute you. I salute this the gentleman that did this for you.
You could be in the game too, because he's running a competition at the moment. Whoever can do the best time of my house, then he'll put them in the game as well. Not their house, just the character as a character. So
well,
just go and get into it.
Yeah, like let me know the deets, man. I need deets. I want to get that in.
It's chair simulator. I'll put a link in the description after the show so everyone can have a look.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's about news done. Have we got anything else going on in the news?
Well, I mean, really, as we said, the big news of the week was the release of Starfield. That was like the news. I mean, there really wasn't. No one's really talking about too much anything else. There's other things too. People are still. Baldur's Gate 3 still has a bit of buzz to it, and people are still getting ready for Mario Wonder. There's been more gameplay footage of that. But when a big game, and like it, lump it, when a AAA game like Starfield lands, you almost have no choice but to look at it one way or another.
Yeah, this is true.
So, I say, strap in because there is no escape. Until the next game comes out, then you can like put it to the side, I guess.
So Starfield is the new game by Bethesda, which, if you don't know, if you've been living under a rock, Xbox, Microsoft bought Bethesda. So there was a big controversy about the game to start with, if it would ever come to PlayStation. Bethesda said no, 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 and it doesn't look like it ever will come to PlayStation. So that's where some of the controversy and the hype for the game kind of came around from this. I think that kind of agitated a lot of gamers around the place and brought a lot of light to the game. Also, it's released quite early in the season. Like, this is kind of the very start of the game AAA release season. Like, we're going to have Call of Duty, and I think Assassin's Creed's coming soon, and a few of those big titles. So this is right at the start of it, and they've kind of gone early so they can get the clean air and the big hype all happening for the game. Now, Starfield is a space game. You've got like 1,000 planets or something to go to, and you're going around in your little spaceship, saving the atmosphere, saving the worlds, and trying to mine and do different things. How have you found Starfield so far?
All right. Well, I mean, for the record, I went complete media blackout, like I do with every major video game, especially if you're like a tinier indie game. Then I'll actually research you. Mm-hmm. Then I'll actually see what it's about, because it's not that the big AAA games don't have heart. It's just that I feel like the indie games they have a lot more to gain, and I want to see their effort. I want to see that as it goes. If Bethesda says, yeah, we're releasing a game, I'm like, okay, so that's the game. I'll wait till it comes out and I'll see how it is. So I did a real big media blackout on that. I knew at the very least in my mind, I thought to myself, Star Trek meets Fallout. I never saw any gameplay footage. I had very little knowledge of how the game plays, but I figured, okay, I played Skyrim, I played Morrowind, I played Oblivion, I played Fallout 3, I played Vegas, I played 4. And all those have the same kind of vibe, feel to it. So Starfield will probably be that. And truth be told, after playing it for about an hour and a half, I think I was a little on the money about it. It definitely feels like Fallout control-wise.
Yeah.
There's a couple. The flashlight's a different control than Fallout, which is odd. But other than that, it's almost the exact same on that end. Shoot dudes, they drop, go over, loot them, search lockers, things like that, so, which is fine. I love that. I love scavenging. I've always been a scavenger. Even now, when I was playing the game, someone made a joke. They called it a succulent hunter because you find all those little plants. And even I was like, yeah, I got like 10 of them in my inventory right now. So, because you don't know. I remember in Fallout 3 and maybe to an extent Vegas, I don't remember that. All the junk really could only use like the junk jet gun. So I didn't really grab too much junk. But then in 4, when it became a time to, they really upped the crafting and everything, I was grabbing adhesive, aluminum, steel. So I kind of got that mentality going with Starfield right now. I'm trying to grab as much as I can. I do have an actual interesting thing about Starfield, though.
Yeah.
So it's for the viewers here.
Before you go into that, I'll give you let's do our first opinions both, and then we'll go into where we'll do one side of each other.
Yeah, mine's a little long because it involves 2 gameplays. So yeah.
So I was going to say that I saw Starfield and Microsoft or Bethesda, whoever you want to listen to, kept on banging on about how many planets there are, how there's 1,000 planets to go and explore, and or over that many. And I thought to myself, yeah, this is going to be very much like a No Man's Sky copy, like a AAA's take on No Man's Sky. I feel like that's the dream that I was sold. And when I got into the game, I didn't feel like that straight away. I felt like it was a different type of game. I didn't know it almost had like a little bit of a Halo feel when you kind of do some close combat, kind of going through some really well executed space stations and stuff like that. That are just really well designed and kind of almost a Halo kind of feel to it. And but that's not a bad thing. That was a good thing. There's a like. It just felt like they were trying to do lots of different things at the start of the game as well, where you kind of go, hey, go down this mine, now mine this. Okay, you've done that. You know that. Now, hey, go and shoot these people. Okay, you've done that. Now go and fly into space. And it's like they were giving you these one little snippets of everything. And I'm hoping that as I keep playing it, the game opens up more to stop kind of forcing me to take on these small remedial tasks in their order that they want me to do.
I mean, that's academic of video games today. I mean, what especially a game like this, what game doesn't have the tutorial? You know, I mean, even Zelda with its Great Plateau or that sky there. Baldur's Gate 3 has when the weird tentacle ship crashes, and then you go through that, and then you got to learn all that. Any game that's gives you a lot to do has got to break it down now on what you can do.
I guess that's true.
You know, I mean, in case you notice, video games nowadays, especially when you download them digitally, they don't come with game manuals anymore.
No.
You know, there's no book to be like, oh, you press this, you can do that, you can do that. So in order to make sure you can know how to do it, it actually has to show you how to do it and incorporate it into the story to make it seem as organic as possible, which, truth be told, a lot of times doesn't feel like that. It's like what you said. It feels like you're just checking off, oh, this is how you walk, this is how you mine, this is how you fly ships, stuff like that. But in another way, that has to be necessary. Someone like me, someone who's played, you know, Halo, Fallout, you know, Skyrim, admittedly not No Man's Sky, but all these other, you know, adventure games, Mass Effect, Outer Worlds, stuff like that. If the game didn't tell me how to do any of this stuff, I think I could have worked it out on my own. But people that don't know, the young, and it's a new IP, so anyone who's never even touched any of those things and they jump into Starfield, they could get a little overwhelmed.
Oh yeah.
So while it's kind of like, all right, so we're going through the motions now. I understand why it exists.
But I will say that one of the things that I did like about this, I've compared it to No Man's Sky, and there'll be a lot of comparisons through the podcast about that. But I think that this has got an interesting story. Like I'm kind of intrigued of why I'm doing what I'm doing, and they've kind of set it up quite nicely to get you on your path to get going. So I did enjoy where they're taking me.
I mean, Bethesda's always been good, not necessarily with single stories, but with the overarching big picture. I think they do well with. So I think we're going to get a lot of that with Starfield.
Yes, I agree with that. Okay, so go back to your PC story. We were going to that. You were going to... Sorry, I interrupted.
The original plan was I was going to stream the PC version for a few hours. Not a few hours, maybe just 1 hour. And then I was going to stream the Xbox version for an hour. And that way I could actually have like a good comparison. Not just graphics, but just like overall performance, things like that. For the Xbox version... I played for about an hour and 15 minutes, and it was fine. You know, it worked fine, no problem. I played the PC version for about 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I went down the elevator shaft. The person started talking about mining. Screen went black. Went to my desktop. Went to my Xbox homepage on my desktop. And that was that. It crashed. And it was a weird, soft kind of crash. It wasn't like when Baldur's Gate 3 crashed on me, it crashed. That was a crash. Yeah. For the record, by the way, since I played, it hasn't crashed again. So I don't know maybe if a patch fixed it or whatnot. And I haven't tried Starfield PC yet. Plus, another thing with I noticed the Starfield PC, I was playing with a controller, but the sensitivity of the stick was designed for a mouse. So it was very sensitive. I didn't have a chance to even switch it, though. But if I do decide to try Starfield on the PC again, I probably will do mouse and keyboard, even though that's still somewhat alien to me. Yeah, but it was disappointing. As far as like the performance goes, the frame rate, personally, I didn't notice anything. But I didn't. I only played for about 5 minutes on PC, so I really can't like give a good, accurate. If anyone in the comments wants to let me know if the PC version does run better, I got a pretty decent rig, but it did crash it. Who knows why? It could have been something stupid. Maybe I just didn't update my driver or something. I'll run a diagnosis tomorrow or something. But for now, on my Xbox, playing perfectly. So I'm probably gonna stick with that.
Your Xbox Series X, are you?
Xbox Series X.
So you're getting the 30 frame rates. I'm playing on Xbox Series S, which is and I would say though that it's reasonably good. It's quite playable. There is some moments where you just get that slight kind of glitchiness, but it's not very often, and it's quite playable on the Series S.
It's not nearly as glitchy as Fallout 4 or Skyrim or Oblivion was to me. Morrowind was kind of glitchy, but that's Morrowind. That's OG Xbox. I'm not gonna judge that too harshly. But yeah, I'll say that so far, knock wood, it's performed much better than I thought it would.
Yeah, I agree with that. And funny you say that about the mouse and keyboard and the controller, because one of my biggest complaints about the game so far is I absolutely hate the UI in Starfield. If you don't know what UI is, user interface, it is like there's this one part where you have to put your helmet on before they'll continue the game. It took me 4 minutes to find where my bloody helmet was in that game.
I agree.
Yeah, it was, and I almost think that the game was designed for mouse and keyboard, and then they're like, "Oh, we better port it to Xbox." That's how the controls feel. The controls feel almost like they've tried to stuff it all into the Xbox, and that was the best they could do. But it was like they designed it around mouse and keyboard to start with, and I feel like that's where I would like to see where someone played it on a computer if there was a whole lot easier to navigate the UI.
I'm just gonna plug my channel real quick. I do plan on streaming both versions, so I'll leave a comment, a link or whatever on the comments. Yeah. But you are right about the user interface. It's not nearly as good as Fallout 4's. I love the Pip-Boy. I thought that was great. And even Skyrim. And I honestly, it's been a long time since I played Oblivion, so I really can't. I actually played Morrowind not too long ago, and the interface on that is good. Basic but good. But yeah, Skyrim and Fallout I think had way better UIs than Starfield. It's not horrible. It's not the worst UI I've ever dealt with.
It's just trying to find where everything is. It's like they've got all these things. There's no quick ways to get anywhere. You've got to go this. It's like a UI with 5 different extra steps that you don't even need.
Even the favorites. I was always using the favorites on the D-pad. For Fallout, so I have my guns on my handguns on one side, my shotguns up, my rifles left, and down is my super weapon, my melee weapon, and medkit. That's just how I did Fallout, and that's probably more or less how I'm gonna do this. Even that seemed a little, not a whole lot clunkier, but it just seemed not as intuitive as Fallout 4's was. I can't really explain it yet.
But I agree.
Be me. Yeah.
Well, in Fallout, so in Skyrim, sorry. Well, let me get my bearings here. In Starfield, I got there. If your gun runs out of bullets and you don't have it in your quick menu for your next gun, then you have to go through and try and find where the other gun is so you can put a new gun in. Why doesn't it just pick up the next gun that's in your list, throw that into your hands, and you keep shooting? Like, does that do that in Fallout? Is that a Fallout thing too? Like where you have to go and find the gun and
nope.
If
I remember in Fallout, if you're shooting a gun and it goes click, 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 that's what it's going to do until you switch out. But I think one of the main reasons to do that is because every gun you can melee someone with.
Yeah.
So you still have it, so you just hit them with the butt. if you need to. But I do agree with that. I wish that option was there because that's going back to I was just playing some Duke Nukem the other day, and I ran out of shotgun, and it just boom right to a chain gun cannon. You know what I mean? That just does that. And I like that. Sometimes it can mess you up. I remember once it was I honestly couldn't tell you what first-person shooter was. I want to say it was Duke Nukem, but it could have been Shadow Warrior now that I think of it. And I was using the generic machine gun to murder something, and I ran out of ammo. And it was kind of close combat, and the gun switched to my rocket launcher. And I was just keep pressing, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him. And then all of a sudden switch and boom, dead. Like splash damage, you suck.
Yeah. But no, I much prefer that. I think if I'm playing a game and I run out of bullets, why do I have to go and search for this other gun? Just give me the next gun. Let me keep playing.
Right.
So there's some dislikes that I want. So I went through this game and I think we got to around the same part in the game, only a couple of hours in, which is you get a fair indication of what this game is like. One thing I really hated was flying the spaceship and spaceship combat. I absolutely... It just feels so... it feels like you're not even moving in space because you're near these planets, but you're not going any closer to them. You're not moving forward, or you seem to be just going around in circles trying to shoot at these things that are zooming past you either way. You know what I mean? You don't seem to move any direction forwards or backwards at all.
See, I mean, on one hand, it does seem somewhat realistic in terms of like if you were in space shooting at things.
Yeah.
But you are right; it is a little clunky. I know it sounds weird, but it kind of reminds me of Star Fox's 64's 360 battles in a way, where there's a lot of like turning around, doing a 180. That was my issue with Starfield. Honestly, it's not the worst I've played. But it's definitely not like the crowning jewel of the game. I can see people being turned off it. I wasn't necessarily turned off, but I just hope, yeah.
Yeah, you're just thinking, ugh. But then I made a really big realization of what Starfield is. So I got through the first mission that you have to do is you have to go through this close combat. And I thought it was like Halo. And then I killed the guy and I picked up all the loot and all that. And really, Starfield... to me, is like a ripoff of Borderlands. It's like, you have to think about it for a second, but it's like Borderlands, but they've made it really pretty. You're traveling to all these different locations. You've only got like certain things you have to go and get from those locations. There's so much, especially Borderlands 3, it's so similar in different ways. You don't have as many planets in Borderlands, but you're swapping between planets, and you can pull up your map in when you get back to the ship and choose to go over to this planet or that planet. There's so many things like that. And to be honest, I'd rather just play Borderlands. So that's where when I started realizing it was like a ripoff of Borderlands, I was like, maybe I'll just go back and play Borderlands again, because I much prefer everything about Borderlands.
Well, see, the problem with Borderlands, for me at least, and I like Borderlands. I played through the first one, and I don't want to use the word shallow, but the thing with Borderlands is even when you level up, and by the time Borderlands is over, your character's this level, you got this gun. It doesn't really feel like it did too much, because with Borderlands, it's just about the vault, opening up the vault, getting here. Yeah, you meet, Mad Moxie and this person and that person and whatnot, but it doesn't seem like you're doing anything in the world around you. Whereas with Starfield, now obviously I don't know because I've only played about an hour of Starfield, but the potential, if it's like Fallout, where, you're not saving the world, you're not Link trying to get the Triforce or anything like that. But the world will change depending on what you do, depending on who you help.
Okay, so you think it's going to have different aspects of that to it.
Right. Like with Borderlands, I mean, it's more or less just a dungeon crawler with guns. And especially, I mean, One of my friends actually, he made a good point. I don't know if you ever played it. It's an older game, but there was an older game back in the day called Gauntlet.
No, I haven't.
It was a multiplayer dungeon crawler. I think a lot of games actually take from Gauntlet today. But we were playing Borderlands, and he says, in a lot of ways, this is kind of like Gauntlet. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Here we are. We're just dudes. Enemies are appearing. We're trying to kill them all. We're trying to get to the end of the maze. To get like the points. Or the gun. And in the case of that, which is fine, by the way. I'm not disparaging any of that. Gauntlet and Borderlands rock. But those seem like they have more of a simple, like visceral kind of goal. Where Starfield, you got to get to the end of the room and you got to kill anyone who's trying to kill you in between there and there. But at the very least, I think it dresses that up in a way that makes it seem like what you're doing matters to someone else in the game. That an NPC will change somewhere. Some people might find that shallow, but that's my kind of shallow.
Yeah, no, I do think that Starfield's going to have a lot more story than Borderlands does, perhaps. I do feel like I'm just saying that from like a gameplay point of view, you've got very similar aspects to the Borderlands franchise for me. I don't know. You're just traveling to planet. Have you played Borderlands 3? I'm talking about more the 3 one where you're traveling to different planets, doing the different things, going back. You're going around to things. A lot similar. It's got that vibe to it for me.
Well, I mean, a lot of games like going back to Star Fox, going to different planets. You never leave your ship, but you go to planet, killing robots and evil giant orangutans. I'm not lying about that last part, by the way. Even a game like Mass Effect, especially Mass Effect was really one of the first games that did that for me. Just like all these places you could go. You really couldn't do too much. In a lot of ways, it was all like No Man's Sky version 1, where you just went to these planets, gathered some materials, and then moved on.
Yeah, well, No Man's Sky has this unique thing that so far no one else has replicated, where No Man's Sky, I can literally go anywhere on that planet. There's no where in Starfield you just get given a point of that planet that you can enter.
See,
and you can't travel anywhere else.
I kind of prefer that though.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing, but I'm just saying that's something that No Man's Sky didn't do very well.
Bigger is better. We're in that world. Today's gamer has that mentality. Bigger is better. If you're gonna have an open world game, it now has to be this huge, sprawling area. Mm-hmm. But part of me kind of wishes we could harken back to the days where the open world maybe wasn't as world as it was open. I mean, if you go back and play like Grand Theft Auto 3, which is a milestone in open world games, Liberty City really isn't all that big.
I love that size. I love that size city where it takes you 5 minutes to get across the city. That's perfect size for me. I agree.
Right, and it's not realistic. Any city is a pain in the ass to get from one part to another. But when you condense it to that length, in a way, you get more out of the city. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many times, and I love Red Dead, I love Skyrim, I love GTA 5, but goddamn, sometimes just driving or riding your horse or walking, hey, the music's great, it looks good, and maybe there's a couple enemies you can fight on the way, but there's a lot of area that doesn't need to be there. You could cut that off and it'd be just as fine. Not every game needs to be Breath of the Wild in terms of size. So, when we're talking about Starfield, I don't feel I need to see the whole planet. Be nice, and if you can do something with that entire planet, that's even nicer. But I would rather have one area with action than have a whole planet where you're just aimlessly, going from map marker to map marker just to find, iron ore.
Well, in No Man's Sky, the way they do this, is you can fly down to the planet and then you can fly around the planet to survey the planet. And then you find those map markers where you want to actually go to. You can fly from one to the next one. And it's really, really well done. in Starfield, like this space combat, like the whole part of being up in space in Starfield, you can't fly to a planet. You can rotate to the planet you want to go to, and then you can select the marker that you want to go to, and then it just next minute you're landing on the planet. There's no kind of coming into that atmosphere and experiencing an overview of the planet from way above. You miss that. That's that one kind of thing that you're missing from this Starfield, to kind of give it that seamless space travel kind of game.
Yeah, I mean that's good immersion. You hit the nail right on the head. You feel like an explorer. You're coming down. You know, I mean it's a trip. It's got to be. So you are right on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and No Man's Sky. Sometimes I've come down onto some planets and I'm like, oh shit, where the hell am I going to land? Like, there's literally no places to land. You know, your big ship. This one here, it just finds this perfect little crater that you can land on every time. It's like, oh, perfect. Like.
Actually, I just thought of another game that does play around with the idea of going from planet to planet. Metroid Prime 3 did that. And that was another game where, like, okay, so you choose what planet you're going to. All right, now I'm going to land at this marker. And then you see the cutscene of Samus's ship, dry. Then now it's going down. There's no going into the atmosphere or anything like this. Of course, this was a Wii game, so, they really didn't do anything like that just yet. But I actually got a little whiff of that with Starfield, in a way. Right. Now, reminded me of Metroid game, ain't never a bad thing. But if you did have the option to actually go down the planet, go through the atmosphere, and then break through the clouds and see the ground underneath, that would definitely be a more visually appealing thing, and probably would have felt a lot better. So I haven't played No Man's Sky yet, but I will give the point to that. Did Borderlands 3 do something similar to that?
It's more very similar to the Starfield thing, where you just select a planet and you just get an icon, and then all of a sudden you're there on that planet in that location. It's just, and I get the impression with Starfield that eventually I'm going to unlock fast travel, where I'm not even going. I'll basically be able to go into my HUD and then just select the next planet. I don't even have to do the whole crap of getting into a spaceship, then turning it around to face the next planet. I feel like it's going to the point of I can just pick and choose planets and fast travel between them.
I mean, that's also the way it usually is with television shows and movies that involve space travel, unless that's the point. Something's happening when they go into a planet or out of a planet. Usually it's like, all right, Spock and Bones, we're going down to this planet, okay. And then the next scene, they're on the planet, Like, there was no bracing or anything. It's just, this is it now. So there is that kind of feel with Starfield. One scene I love, actually, is a Futurama. When Fry's all excited to go to the moon, and they're in the spaceship. And he's like, wow, I can't wait, I'm going to count down. 10, 9, and Leela just pushes the button, and boom. Just real quick, now they're in front of the moon. That's it, So I think they were just trying to maybe streamline that a bit. But it would have been cool to at least have the option. Let me skip. If I don't feel like going down every planet, then I can just skip, and we're there.
But so to me, Starfield feels more like it's about exploring the planets, and then they've kind of just jammed this crappy space simulator in between all the planets to kind of fill up the gaps for everyone that thought that they were going to drive a spaceship, where it's not about exploring the space so much. It's more exploring the planets that are in that space, and they're giving you a whole lot of planets. One thing I don't know yet, because I haven't got far enough into the game, but is Starfield, I would like to hope that there's different atmospheres in each kind of area. So like at the moment, they haven't really put any emphasis on my suit losing air. I don't seem to have to refill my air or anything like that. There doesn't seem to be any emphasis on that part. I obviously have to put my helmet on, but then it's just you've got limitless air to explore this planet, and you seem to just have the same gravity on all the. It's like almost like an Earth gravity with a slight bit more bounce to it, but it's not. I'm not really getting a whole lot of different sensations from going from planet to planet so far.
I can't comment because I've really only been on 2 planets so far. The first mining planet there, and then the where I fought the Crimson Fleet. That's all I've seen so far as planets go. So I really can't comment on that. I'm with you. I'm hoping I can go to planets where that just you can float and all that, and then there's planets that are just like you're grounded.
Yeah.
Like if you step outside your ship, you're gonna be squished by the pressure. I can only hope that, and plus, what about planets that are gaseous planets? What about planets that are just covered in like a liquid? Doesn't even have to be water. Maybe it's liquid methane.
Or an acid or something that is eating at your suit,
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't experienced, and I don't get the feeling that we're going to get that. I don't get that vibe. I don't think they're daring enough to do that.
I mean, I could see like the atmosphere. At least the atmosphere is changing that you need to have a helmet on because there's no oxygen.
Yeah.
Or anything breathe for you. There's probably not going to be. At the very least, you're not going to be able to obviously land on any gaseous planets because it's a gaseous planet. But I hope they're in the game at least. Maybe they got moons or something, or that you can mine for stuff. Anything, freaking Saturn's got what, like 30 moons to it. I'm sure there's plenty of planets out there that have just as many moons, if not more. So I hope at least they try to work that into it. And then of course you got your tiny dwarf planets that are like rocks, ice rocks, like Mercury or something. And I don't know what you can do with that. I'm sure there'll be something. So the majority of the planets are going to be Earth-likes. Air,
moon or Earth-like, I think.
Yeah, which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
If you told me, hey, you're gonna go to another planet, I'll be like, all right, can it have like air and gravity?
So yeah, no, it does make sense, but I don't feel like we're gonna get those really, really interesting planets that we kind of hoped for, and there are interesting creatures on the planet. All these like weird, their aliens are very plant-based, aren't they?
I kind of got one of my favorite movies, 1954. I think it's 1954. If someone wants to correct me on this, they can. The Angry Red Planet.
Yes.
And it's about some astronauts going to Mars, but of course it's the 50s, so naturally Mars looks completely different, But like there's these weird like creatures and this like blob and amoeba kind of thing and stuff like that. And I thought, as a kid watching that, I thought that was cool because you didn't see anything like that on Earth.
I thought you were going to say Swamp. I thought you were going to go with Swamp Thing as your favorite movie. So
it ain't terrible. It's all right. Okay. I thought the ending was weird, but whatever. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to see what kind of cool alien stuff is. That's always been my favorite things with any space-based game. Is the weird creatures that they come up with, the H.R. Geiger style xenomorphs. I live for that stuff. And when it comes to spacefaring games, I do.
I'm not even sure we're going to get the creatures that I've run into so far. Looks like a palm tree with some spider's legs running around and some things like that. And I've just been like, oh, okay. So I haven't actually seen any kind of interesting alien type creatures at all. Everything seems to be more humanoid or tree-based alien, which is quite weird, I guess. But I mean, it's more logical, but it's just not as exciting as crazy aliens that are shooting ray guns at me.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, as far as I can tell with the game, in terms of intelligent life, it seems like it's all human.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could be wrong on that. There's only so much of the story I've gotten so far. But, like, the creatures that have had a fight, they've been varied. There has been a lot of them. I do like the scanning. I've always liked scanning things ever since Metroid Prime. I've always loved anything that lets me, like, scan and learn about different things. And it seems to actually be a popular thing in games now. It started with Metroid Prime, and it kind of worked its way up from there. That kind of gives me more of that explorer feel, I'm sure No Man's Sky has probably something similar, where you can like study different, flora,
Oh,
fauna.
100%. Well, No
Yeah.
Man's Sky's got a lot more mining, and you can mine absolutely everything. It's like you could literally obliviate a whole, or you can't literally do a whole planet, but you can dig down to almost the core of every planet and just go like a Minecraft almost vibe. It's very, if you're into mining and exploring, it's very, very good. And I think that's where the disappointment of this game is for a lot of people that kind of came in with the No Man's Sky, but No Man's Sky doesn't look nearly as good as this game. Like Starfield looks amazing. I every time I'm walking around, I'm just, am I in a movie? Is this a TV show? Like, you know what I mean? It's very, very, very well looking game. It's amazing.
That uncanny valley, man, it's getting thinner and thinner. It's still there,
Yeah.
but it's just, yeah, and I say that with Star, and by no means, I don't even think Starfield's the best looking game out there.
No, no.
But it doesn't matter. You look at it, and you're just like, wow, we're here now. I mean,
Yeah, it's just amazing. But I think the guns are a little bit lacking in the game.
me too. But at the same time,
But I've only
I'm
got
holding
the
out on
start
that.
ones. Yeah.
Fallout 4 had that problem too. The first couple weapons, like when you start up Fallout 4, the first guns you get are all right, but once you unlock the ability to like really tune up your stuff, then that's when the fun begins. Then it feels like you get like weapons that are your weapons. So I'm hoping that's the way it is with Starfield. The melee weapons, I mean, the melee weapons are all right in any Bethesda game. More so maybe like the Elder Scrolls game because it's swords and axes and daggers and your guns are the magic, really, at that point. I know in Fallout I rarely used melee weapons, if at all. I never allocated any perks or anything to melee weapons. I doubt I'll do it in this game. Maybe if they give me more of
I
an
got this
incentive
little
to use it.
shiv thing, right? And it's
What did I end up?
yeah, and it's actually fantastic. I can go around and insta kill people. I got this shotgun, and because you got this space gravity, right? So you kind of jump and then you land and then you shoot people, but it's kind of weird it kind of takes you a little bit to get used to that whole movement. But then the bullets in the gun don't do anything different because of the gravity. It's only the person holding the gun that's moving a bit weird because of the gravity. And so you kind of, I don't know, I found like the melee weapons are actually going to be more useful in Starfield than potentially some of the guns because of this weird move, this lower gravity that you're getting in Starfield.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense, and maybe with some. Obviously, you're trying to hold on to ammo. I haven't ran out of any ammo yet in Starfield, so that's not a huge problem. But close quarters, aliens probably use melee weapons. Maybe if there's like you get more loot by using melee weapons. I think that's the way. Not so much melee weapons, but anyone wants to correct me on this. I think in Red Dead 2. If you use like bow and arrow or melee weapon on an animal, you get a better quality of the pelt.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true.
Yeah, whereas if you freaking shoot a rabbit with a
Shotgun.
A double barrel shotgun, you ain't getting much.
You get
So
half
that
a
could
leg.
work into it. Oh, here's one interesting aspect. I really haven't listened to a whole lot of the soundtrack of Starfield yet, but I dig the opening.
Yes.
Song. It's all right. It's not instantly catchy, but it fits it. It makes you think, oh yeah, that's a theme for Starfield. It's one of those. I loved the Fallout 4 soundtrack, and honestly the Skyrim sound. Any Bethesda game usually knocks it out with the soundtrack. You usually get some good numbers in there.
And the voice acting is really well done. Did you spot the guy that's in every other Bethesda games? The voice.
Yeah. I thought he sounded familiar. I was expecting him to start talking about arrows in the knee. Honestly. So far, the voice acting as well. I mean, especially with AAA games, you almost expect at least great voice acting.
Yes.
If you don't have good voice act, back in the day, you could get away with that. You could play Symphony of Night. You could play Silent Hill. You could play Resident Evil. You could play all these games that just had the, what in the world is this happening right now? I need to get out of here. Like stuff like that. It sounds so like they're just not even that they're reading off the script. They're reading off memory. It's, and that kind of stuff kind of went to the wayside once like the more cinematic games came out. So I really wasn't expecting bad voice acting. I'm sure there's a couple lines of dialogue that make you go, ugh. But for the most part, it's good.
No, it's pretty good. I there's a lot to like about Starfield. I think it depends on how you go into the game. If you come in with the No Man's Sky thing, you're going to be bitterly disappointed. If you come in with more of a like what do you call it? Like a Skyrim in the sky.
I would say, yeah. I mean,
Fallout 4 in the sky.
If you liked Fallout 4, I didn't play 76, but if you liked Fallout 4, at the very least, you will be able to play Starfield. Mm-hmm. Will it be your cup of tea? I can't answer that. All I know is, after an hour and a half of playing, I'm ready to play some more. And that's I can't really give it a good review yet, or a bad review, because I'm just scratching. Even with all I played of Tears of the Kingdom, I feel like I really can't give you a good review of that. But with Starfield, the potential, right there. The potential is a thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I think that's how I think everyone's going to feel about it. But I think this comes back down to marketing and how game companies portray their game. If you know what I mean, because there is a lot of people that are actually disappointed with this game. It's because they've been sold this space travel adventure, but really it's more of a planet, like checking out different planets adventure, which I'm not against that, but it's just the way that they've sold the Starfield thing. It doesn't feel as kind of liberating as you were hoping it was going to be.
What do you think is worse? When a game gets hyped up to be something, but then it turns out it's something else, or when a game gets hyped up to be something, and that something turns out to be shit? Like, what do you think is a bigger... I don't really want to call it shit, but that's just throw it out there. Cyberpunk 2077. What you thought the game was going to be, it is more or less what the game ended up being, But it was disappointing on some levels about that. It wasn't... I don't think it's actually the worst thing in the world.
I can play like the game. I like the game. It was... To be fair, Cyberpunk is not probably a fair inclusion, because the problem with Cyberpunk was the bugs. It wasn't the actual gameplay or what it was hyped up to be. It turned out to be that, but they had a lot of bugs. Well. They just had a lot of bugs. Bugs can ruin any game, to be fair.
Yeah.
Where it's what I'm trying to think of a game. So the last BioShock in the series, Infinite.
Infinite. Yep.
Yes. Now, if you played all the other BioShocks, you kind of had an expectation of what you were going to get from BioShock, and then you got to Infinite, and it was a way different game. It was like so much. It had a similar feel. Now, I was expecting that to be a BioShock game, and to be fair, I didn't like Infinite very much because it wasn't... I was expecting it to be like BioShock, but it didn't turn out to be like BioShock. But if they did like BioShock 1 and 2, it probably would have been a bit boring, if that makes sense. So
no, I mean...
I see why they did that.
Yeah, you got to do different things, I mean, I'm a good... As much as I do love Fallout, if someone said to me, "I don't want to play Starfield," it plays just like Fallout. I couldn't say they're wrong. They would be right. I mean, I think that's a good thing, but they probably don't, and that's a valid opinion. As far as the bugs go, you are right about that. Cyberpunk, though, that was the main thing. It must be said, with the exception of Starfield crashing on my PC, for an hour and 15 minutes playing on Xbox, I didn't encounter one bug at all. And for a Bethesda...
So have you seen...
For Bethesda game, that's pretty good.
Have you seen the Zelda Blur? Okay.
No, no,
Okay.
like
Okay.
no,
No.
like
Okay. This is what I've dubbed this the Zelda blurs because it's Zelda Breath of the Wild did this first. So if you have a look, everyone go and get your Switch out, turn it on, put your Zelda Breath of the Wild in, and run around. And you have a look at the edges of the screen for probably about half an inch in, all the way around the screen. They've blurred the screen. So, because they know that your focal point is the middle of the screen and you don't even look at the edge of the screen, it's just kind of a peripheral of what you're looking at. So they purposely blur the edge of the stream so the actual game doesn't have to render out the edge of the screen, which saves on resources so they can actually run that game on the Switch. And that's what they've done in Starfield as well. They've put the Zelda blur around the edge of the screen. And you'll notice it especially if you spin around in a circle really fast. You'll see everything starts to blur except for the very center of the screen. The faster you move, the more blur you get.
I honestly never noticed that, but the one place I do notice that, and it makes sense really when you think about it, are VR headsets. Mm-hmm. The outside of the VR is always not nearly as sharp as the center of the screen of the ocular part of it. In a lot of ways, that's almost like your eyes regularly anyway. I mean, it's not going to be super sharp here. All the sharpness is going to be here.
Yeah.
That's really the only place I've ever noticed an effect like that. And I worked around that. I've been playing Beat Saber and Village VR perfectly fine.
Well, yeah, I think they do it mostly so they can get people. Basically, they do it so they save on resources, and I think it actually, if it's crisps all the way to the edge, it actually almost looks faker because like you said, out here in my eyes, next to my eyes here, I'm seeing that blurry anyway. So naturally, it makes it feel more natural to blur the edge of the screen. It kind of gives it more of a looking in kind of look. So, yeah.
Yeah, like as far as the Zelda blur goes, that's never really been a huge problem for me. I can deal with that, because until you mentioned it right just then there, when you said Zelda blur, I thought you meant, and I always turn this off. This the first place I ever noticed this was Vice City, for PS2, and it's that like light, like streaking, where like if you move too quick, the lights kind of like streak and they almost like burn into the screen a bit. I turn that shit off, and I'm surprised that's even like default on. I don't understand anyone who would like to see that. Maybe it looks better in graphics today, but back in 2002,
it was terrible.
It did not look good. Yeah, like I was like, nope, get that off immediately. Just turn it off. I don't want that.
So what a question with that notice. What are the things you turn off as soon as you get into a game? Because I know people that get into a game and the first thing they do is turn off the rumble pack of their controller because they don't like the rumble pack. Like, what is there anything? I'm always, if I get into a game, I'm always checking. I hate inverted controls. I don't even understand why that's even a thing.
You don't see that too much anymore, but that was a big problem back in the day, where like they would invert it for no reason. Yeah, like it would just be up is down, and that would be it'd just be airplane controls default. You could switch it, but I'm with you. I never understood why that was the default. I don't know anybody that plays like that at all. Everyone always changed that.
I think the only time it actually makes sense is if you got one of those controllers like the big ones that you hold onto here. When you pull back, you go up. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, like if you're playing like Flight Simulator, then yeah, that makes sense. Anything involving a plane, sure, that makes sense. But when you're just looking up, down, left, right, nah. Going back to your question though, things you turn off, and this is only for the Switch. I noticed motion controls. Off immediately. do not.
Why is it even on in Breath of the Wild?
I was playing Doom. All right, I'm starting up Doom on the Switch, and I'm playing on a tablet, and then I noticed like it's moving around, and it pissed me off because it's like this is Doom. Like if you want to include that option, sure. sure, go ahead and include it. That's fine. But don't make it the default.
No.
You know? Oh, yeah, I went right to options, turned that off, and played, the way it wasn't Doom, because you don't look up and down in Doom. What was it? It was, I think it might have been Turok, actually. Funny, we were talking about Turok a while back. That had rotoscope. It's, no. Turn that off. Turn that off. Quake 2 on the Switch has that. Okay. I turned that off as well.
I found it in Zelda. Like, I was trying to jump or something like that, and then he would like go off to the side, and it was because it had the gyros on in the Zelda. Like, for I don't know, I can't remember exactly the scenario, but it was something along those lines as well. So in the Switch, they turn all these gyros on for no reason. Like, I agree with you. That's just ridiculous. But
Yeah, no. So there's a couple other options. I always adjust my audio. Depending on the game, I might turn off music completely. If there's nothing like really worth listening to, and the game itself is more of an immersive experience, most first-person shooters I'll do that with. Most, not all, but most, especially the older ones. It's actually funny. If you play Duke Nukem 64, there's no music in that. So when I go play it on my PC, PS5, whatever, I actually usually turn off the music because I'm just so used to that. Dialogue in a game, I usually crank that up because I want to be able to listen to what they're saying.
I've been turning on subtitles nowadays. Being an old person now, I just turn on the subtitles because you have people walking into the room talking to you, and you can read it at least while they're talking to you.
When people are talking to me in a room, I can usually hear it. But you ever have it? That's it. Actually, this happened in Starfield. I was in a room looking for stuff, and there were some pirates in another room talking. Had the subtitles not have been on, I wouldn't be able to hear anything they said. You know, so it adds a little insight. So usually my first playthrough of something, I'll keep subtitles on just so I don't miss anything. But if I ever go back, then yeah, the subtitles be off.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, so we're all Starfield out. Is there any other Starfield stuff to do? Or are we out of Starfield?
The last thing I will say though about Starfield is I do hope the future's bright for it. There's gonna be DLC. There has to be DLC. There's no reason why there wouldn't be DLC.
What DLC do you want to see though? What do you want to do you want to DLC?
I mean, right now people out. That was cute, very cute. You got me. I would like to actually. I know that I haven't actually made my ship yet, been able to like really like customize it. But maybe if you could have ships, like a nice fleet of ships, like some space garage somewhere, that'd be nice. Of course, you know the usual new items, new guns, new areas, new worlds to explore. That'd be fine too. I'm sure some people would clamor for this. Me personally, I'm not holding my breath for any multiplayer aspect. I don't need that. I'm sure maybe some people would get a kick out of that. I am not one of those people. So when it comes to DLC, I hate to say it, I just want to see standard, regular, mid-naughty DLC. No weird microtransaction, no horse armor, none of that crap. Just nice, good, reasonably priced DLC. I'd like to see reasonably priced DLC for everything.
I want just a Megan Fox spaceship. That's all I want.
Yeah. You want Megan Fox to come to Starfield, damn it. Yeah. Just throw her in every video game. She'll make it 10 times better. Yeah. You remember Mario Rabbids? No, screw that. Mario, Megan Fox, going around shooting and saving the day. Make it happen, Nintendo.
Yeah, that would make everyone's day.
Make mine.
I don't know. I don't know what other DLC that I can't really think. There's so much game there that I don't know. I wish they had like a dumb version of the game. Like, this is what I'm hoping they bring to it. The dumb version where there's no UI problems. People like me that just want to go around shooting things up, then we could just get the dumb version where we don't have to worry about all the other crap. We just turn on the dumb version and go
streamlined version.
Yes, yeah, something like that. That is like more of a I guess you could call it story mode if you like.
Well, that's another reason why I kind of want to play the PC version, because aside from DLC, I'm interested to see what mods come out for this thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, I when I started playing Skyrim and Fallout and with the different, it became a whole new game. You know, and I would just add it and stuff. You know, so that's going to be the modding community. This has big modding community potential. And like you said, hey, maybe someone may, hey, do you hate the UI in Starfield? Download this mod. You know, it becomes way better, and well, maybe I'll download it.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I just think that's where that is. So, is there any other space games out there that you kind of want to compare this to, or are we kind of out of comparisons?
You know, I mean, I said this last week. I didn't do it. I slacked, and I apologize to the Anything Gaming family. But I do want to give No Man's Sky an honest heave-ho. Just like, I want to play No Man's Sky as much as I played Starfield, so I can get a taste, a flavor of it. And in a way, I kind of regret not playing it when it came out, because I know it was a different game then, and it would have been a better way to compare. But I do plan. I checked I didn't see No Man's Sky on Game Pass. On the Xbox Game Pass.
It's definitely on Xbox Game Pass.
Is it? I'll check again. If not, I'm sure it's cheap enough.
Unless it's only on the Australian store. I wonder if
Might
Game
be,
Pass does different things in different regions.
I know that the Nintendo it does. It's for Japan, they got different stuff on there. You know, than we do. So who knows? But yeah, and plus I can always, maybe it's on PlayStation Plus.
Yeah,
you know, I'll check that as well. So it's got to be on something where I can play it. Maybe I'll get the Switch version.
Oh, don't worry. If you buy it, it'll come to all of those platforms.
Yeah. I mean, eventually, I'm going to buy it for all the platforms. Look at me.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far maybe even Borderlands. You're talking about Borderlands 3, you said?
Yeah, Borderlands 3. I just think it has this, because Borderlands 3 is the one where you spend a lot of time on your spaceship, and then from your spaceship you choose different places to go and visit, to go and get different resources, different things, and it's not as vault orientated as Borderlands 1 and 2. Borderlands 3 is a little bit different to that. But I just got huge Borderlands kind of vibes to the game after playing it. It's Starfield I'm talking about, because just the way that the levels are set up, the ship kind of becomes your hub almost. It's almost like your little, what do you call that thing that he has on his arm in Fallout 4? That's almost your spaceship in Starfield. I feel like your spaceship's going to have all these little pockets and places where you can go and check different information about this and that, and start crafting and all those kind of things. I did find it really weird, and this is a little bit of a spoiler alert, how easily you acquire a spaceship at the start. It was just like, okay, you saved my life. Here's my spaceship.
And I also gotta say this. I don't know if you could call it criticism, but you know the part where like you touch the artifact and you see, you know, the universe there. That's kind of I feel that's kind of a rip of Mass Effect, which in effect is kind of a rip of 2001: A Space Odyssey. You know, that object, or even Dune, like that object in the universe that if you interact with it, you know, the secrets will be revealed to you.
Or the vault from Borderlands.
That too.
Oh
just
my
that
God.
like MacGuffin that like makes you, you know, oh, that's the answer kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a tired trope, but it works, and I'm sure it'll work with Starfield. I haven't gone to Constellation yet. They keep talking about that, but once I do, I'm sure everything will be revealed.
I do find the mining in Starfield to be a bit blah. It seems to be like you can't mine anything and everything. You can only mine the certain rocks, if you know what I mean, which I mean, I love a laser miner. I don't think there's any other game. I mean,
Well,
that's in. It's also something part of No Man's Sky is the laser miner, but it's way more different in No Man's Sky than this. So,
I mean, I don't want to say Minecraft because there was mining in games way before Minecraft. But when I think of mining, my instant thought goes to Skyrim when you would find an ore vein, and then you better have a pickaxe, and then you'd be doing that for a couple seconds. You get your ore, it's gone. That's how you get all the Starream. That's the only way to get all that stuff. So far, yeah, the mining is blah. But I mean, isn't mining blah in real life as well? I mean, no one says to their miner husband when they come home, "Hey, honey, how was your day?" "Oh, fantastic!
I just got to dig up a whole heap of coal. Oh,
Like it's exciting and action packed."
No, it's not.
It's
You're
like,
right. I didn't die today.
Yeah, I went in the ground, I got some rocks, and then I'm back now.
Yeah, I'm
that's
alive.
what it is. So,
No,
hey, I'm not disparaging the miners of the world. They're doing work that I would never have the capacity to do. So, God love them, but I know it's not the most interesting job in the world.
No, that's true. Oh well, yeah. I'm interested to see where Starfield goes. I think it's very. It's just a big game, and there's a lot to unpack with this game. So don't get deterred by anything we've said, because I think you've got to go, especially if you have Game Pass, download that 170 gig of bliss. It was 130 gig. It was a lot of There's a lot of gig.
Go for it.
It's your whole Xbox basically is Starfield now.
Yeah, I mean it's a big chunk. I don't have a whole lot on my Series X. I do try to go physical, but it's a fifth of the hard drive. So download it and chew it up and see how it tastes.
See how you go. I think we might call it a quit. We had some questions. We were going to do questions. We'll save that for next week, I reckon, and we'll see where we go next week with anything gaming. What's your thoughts on that?
No, we knew that Starfield was going to be the focus today because it was the news story, it was the main topic, even the questions. We were asking Starfield questions to one another. So it does. I think that's a testament, though, to Bethesda. When they release a game, when they develop a game, they publish a lot of stuff. They publish Doom because they own that now. There's other games they publish, but when they're the ones like in the developer circle, like Lump or Worship Despise, you have to take notice, and you have if you are a gamer, if you are into anything gaming, you gotta pay attention to it.
Yeah. Okay, so that's us for this week. Anything gaming next week. If you got anything, write it in the comments, and we can get onto that. Give us a question for next week. We love questions and all that kind of stuff as well. Thank you.